Last class, we have stated and proved pumping lemma for context-free languages. And today, we are going to see how we can use pumping lemma for proving that certain languages are non-context free. And similar in case to the pumping lemma for regular languages, here again, we are going to formulate a game which can be played to decide whether a given language is context free or not. And for that, we need to use some non-facts about propositional logic to formulate a game. Let us see how we can do it. If you remember, this is the pumping lemma for context-free languages. Hope you watched the previous lecture. Otherwise, please do it before you do this lecture. So this is the pumping lemma statement which says, for every context-free language L, there exists a constant k such that for any string z in the language with the length greater than or equal to k, you can find substrings u, v, w, x, y such that all these four conditions are true. So this is what we saw in the previous lecture. Now we need to formulate a game using this. Before we do that, let us recollect some required facts from propositional logic. Consider the following two predicates P and Q. A predicate means a formula which evaluates to either true or false. And what is predicate P? Which says the computation of the DFA A on input string W ends in a final state. So given a string W, the computation may or may not end in a final state, and hence this is a predicate. And what is the predicate Q saying? The input string W is an element in the language accepted by A. So that is again a true or false kind of a statement, and hence a predicate. So given the predicates P and Q, can you see any logical relationship between P and Q? It's not difficult to see that whenever P is true, Q must be true. That is, whenever the computation of the string W ends in a final state, then W must be in the language. And that is what we learned about the acceptance of a finite state automaton. So here it says, whenever P is true, Q must be true, and which can be represented by a propositional modality called implication. P implies Q means if P is true, then Q must be true. For example, here, if the computation ends in a final state, then the string must be in the language. Now, suppose you know that P implies Q is a valid formula. That means whenever P is true, Q must be true. And we also know that the value of P is true. Then what you can conclude? Then from the meaning of the implication, you can conclude that Q must be true. So whenever P implies Q is true and P is true, then by the definition of implication, Q must be true. And now, this is the most important fact about propositional logic that we need for today. That is a contrapositive form of an implication. Given an implication P implies Q, its contrapositive form is negation of the RHS, negation of Q, implies negation of P. So given an implication P implies Q, its contrapositive form is negation Q implies negation P. And it is known from propositional logic that an implication and its contrapositive form are equivalent, meaning whenever P implies Q is true, then negation Q implies negation P must be true and vice versa. And if that is the case, we can say that if P implies Q is valid or true, we know that this is valid. And suppose you prove that negation Q, negation of the RHS is true, then what you can conclude? Then using the contrapositive form, you can conclude that negation of P is true. For example, here, suppose you know that here P implies Q, and suppose you verified that for a given W, W is not in the language. You know that W is not in the language. Then the computation of W must not end in a final state, and that is what this is telling. And this is an illustrative example to see what is contrapositive and the intuition behind this equivalence. And this is the fact that we are going to utilize to formulate our game. So game is that game is induced by the pumping lemma. We can see how we can do that. So what is this fact? Suppose you know P implies Q and you prove that negation Q is true, then negation P must be true. Please try to remember it. Now we can utilize that fact to formulate a game. And which is the application for pumping lemma for CFL? Consider now P as this predicate. What is it? L is a context-free language. Given a language L that may or may not be context-free, and hence this is a predicate. Call it as P. And Q is this long predicate. Please don't get confused. This is exactly the pumping lemma. See, what is the pumping lemma? For every context-free language L, then the remaining part is represented as Q. What is it? There exists a constant K. There exists a K. Such that for any string Z in L with a length greater than or equal to K. That is what we are saying here. For all string Z with a length greater than or equal to K. And what is the remaining part of it? There exist strings U, V, W, X and Y. There exist strings U, V, X and W. Said U, V, W, X, Y. W is missing here. That's the typo. W, X, Y. Said that all these four conditions are true. And then for all I in N0, U, V raised to I, W, X raised to I, Y is in L. So this is exactly this part of the pumping lemma. After the first comma, this part is represented by Q. Hope that is okay. If that is the case, you can say that the pumping lemma for context-free language is nothing but P implies Q. Is that true? Just verify. What is the pumping lemma? For every context-free language, Q is true. Or you can rewrite it as, if L is a context-free language, then Q is true. That is, if P is true, then Q is true. Hope you got it. So we are saying that whenever L is a context-free language, then L must satisfy this condition. That is pumping lemma. So this is fine. Now consider the contrapositive form of this implication. What is it? Negation Q implies negation P. So we know that from pumping lemma, P implies Q. And now suppose you can prove that negation Q is true. What you can conclude from the contrapositive form? You can conclude that negation P is true. What is negation P? L is a context-free language is P. So negation P is L is not a context-free language. See, now what we are saying is that from the pumping lemma, we know that P implies Q for this P and Q. Then if you can prove that negation Q is true, then you can conclude that the given language is non-context free, and thus we can say that pumping lemma condition is a necessary condition for context-free languages. And so, if a language is not satisfying the pumping lemma condition, then the language cannot be context-free. Okay. So, to prove that a language is non-context-free, it is enough to prove that negation Q is satisfied by the language. And what is negation Q? It is this. Please don't get confused. We can verify that it is exactly negation Q. Not that given a quantified propositional logic formula, how will you find its negation? You replace for all with there exist and there exist with for all, and also you negate the formula if any. And now you can verify it. Here we have there exists a k in natural number, and we have represented it as for all k in natural number in negation Q. And what is next? Here you have for all z in L with this condition for L, z. And here we have to say there exists an z with the same condition. Not that this is a bound variable and this is the condition to be satisfied by the bound variable. So, when you find the negation, the condition on the bound variable must be same, but for all should be replaced with there exists. And move right. Now, here it is. Sorry said W is missing, that I will correct and send you. There exist these strings satisfying these conditions. Here again, these three conditions are on the bound variable. So, we have to say for all strings the same conditions. That is what we are saying here. And finally, the next component is for all I in natural number. So, we have to say there exists an I in natural number. And not that the only formula which characterizes Z in L is this formula. What is it saying? This string is in the language. So, in the negation, we have to say this is not in the language. Hope you followed it. Otherwise, please watch it again. For the interest of time, let us proceed to the next slide. So, this is the negation of Q. Believe me, I just copied it. So, this is the negation of Q. Now, question is, how we can prove that negation Q is true for a language L? We need to formulate a game so that you observe that negation Q uses an alternating sequence of for all and there exists quantifiers for the bound variable. See, for all there exists, for all there exists. It's an alternating sequence of for all and there exists. In all such cases, similar to what we did for the pumping lemma for regular languages, we can formulate negation Q as a game between U and a daemon. And why a daemon? Because for all cases, proving it is difficult. If we are proving it not as a game, then you have to say that for all possible values of k, that is difficult. And when you do it as a game, you assume that you are competing with a daemon with infinite capacity or magic effect, that the daemon will give you the worst case value for k. That is an assumption. So, for all cases will be decided by daemon and there exist cases may be decided by you. Let us proceed and formulate the game now. The game GL induced by a CFL L. So, here is the alternating sequence of for all and there exists, and that is negation Q, and for all part will be played by the daemon and there exists part will be played by you. So, what is step 1? For all, right? So, daemon is going to act in step 1. What is it? Just provides a k. We are just copying it into the table, and step 2 is for you to decide an z such that length of z is greater than or equal to k. And then it's the turn for the daemon to decompose it into w, u, v, w, x and y satisfying these three conditions. So we are just copying it here. And finally, it is you deciding a value for I. And so this is the game. It's just a 4-step game. And what is your goal? Your goal is to prove that the given language is non-context free. And in the game, the demon wins the play if the resulting string for I is in the language. That is what pumping llama is saying. If the language is context free, then for all I, this is going to be in the language. And if otherwise, suppose it's not in the language, then you win. So your idea is to find an I such that the resulting string is not in the language. And what is guaranteed is that if the given language is context free, then demon has a winning strategy in the game. If it is context free, then the demon can win the game. There is a strategy. But whether or not demon is going to win depends on how effectively demon is playing the game. But there is always a possibility to win. If she or he is good in playing, she can win. Similarly or equivalently, if you have a winning strategy in GL, that is you are winning, finally this is not in L, then L is not context free. That is, if L is not context free, you will also have a winning strategy. But whether or not you are going to win depends on how good you are in playing the game. And that's the game, so we can play it for an example now. Prove that this language is not a context free language. Remember, a to the power n, b to the power n is context free. But if you add c to the power n, 3 variables with equal number of a's, b's and c's, then you can prove that it's a non-context free language. So try to play the game. So here, demon just gives you a k. If you recall, that is what demon can do. And suppose you do this, you give z as a to the power k, b to the power k, c to the power k. The condition is length of z must be greater than or equal to k, and that is satisfied. Here it is 3k. And now what the demon can do? Demon can give you a decomposition of z satisfying these 3 conditions. Okay. And now suppose you select I as 2. That's enough. And why is it enough? We can see. So not that the input string is of this form, k number of a's followed by k number of b's followed by k number of c's. And this condition is that the length of VWX is less than or equal to k. That means if V is starting in the A part, the VWX cannot expand all the way to the C part because maximum k symbols in it. So try to remember it. Now you can analyze all the different possibilities. Case 1 is either the string V or the string X contains both the symbols A and B. For example, suppose this is the input string and V is this, that is containing both A and B, means V is in this overlap region. And suppose this is the case, then what is uv square, I is 2, uv square w x square y. In this case you can see that V is repeated twice, so you will get it as this. The only difference is this was just AB followed by then string of B. This is AB followed by string of B. And similarly, you will have a square that I am not interested in now. I am abstracted that away. And if you carefully look at this, you can see this thing. I have not changed this thing. I am just observing that there is an A coming after a B. That is not allowed in this language. After a B, you cannot have an A. So you can say that this is not in the language. So hence in this condition, you are done. It's not in the language. You are fine. So that's okay. And similarly, you can say that if either V or X contains both V and C, similar situation will arise and the resulting string cannot be in the language. So that is the similar case. Another different case is, suppose both V and X contains only A. That is a possibility. That is the VWX is completely in A. It is less than or equal to K. It could be completely in A. So V is containing only A. In that case, when you take V square, the number of A's in the resulting string is going to be more than these two, and hence this cannot be in the language. That is an easy case to prove. And similarly, you can prove when both V and X is containing only B's or only C's. So all those cases are done. Another case here is V contains only A's and X contains only B's. That means V is taken from this part, X is taken from this part. In that case, if you apply IS2, what you will get? The number of A's and B's is going to be more than number of C's, because you are doubling the number of A's in V and X. So you will get more number of A's and B's than C's. So it cannot be in the language. And similarly is the case if you have V here and X here. That is, you have number of B's and C's in V and X respectively. Then also you can verify that it's not in the language. And not that, because of this property, you cannot have A's, B's and C's in V and X. Because of this property, hope you followed, otherwise think about it. And these are the various ways, and hence we can show that the resulting string is not in the language in all cases, and hence from the game conclude that the language is non-context free. With this, we are finishing an example application, and we are moving on to the last slide, where I am giving you a practice question for you to play the game and prove that this language is non-context free. Not that playing the game is a little difficult when compared to the game that we played for regular languages, and that's basically because of you coming here, and that will be clear to you only when you use the game or play the game to prove non-context freeness of some languages like this. So today we have formulated the Plumbic lemma for context-free languages as a game. So every context-free language L induces a game GL, and that you can play to see whether the language is context-free or not. Hope you followed it. Try to play the game for the given language and prove that the given language is non-context free. Thank you.